In this video, I'm giving you a full Clay.com masterclass, and I'll be showing you how you can automate your sales workflows. So if you're watching this, even as a complete beginner who's never even touched Clay before, by the end of this video, you'll be able to build some killer Clay workflows with extremely valuable and functioning, fully automated Clay tables. I've been in the trenches using Clay every single day over the last 2 years, and at the time of recording this, I've helped over 120 different businesses to implement Clay, be it through our service-based agency or through my Unlock Clay course. So open up a Google Doc and be ready to take some notes. To start with, what is Clay? You probably came across it on your LinkedIn feed or maybe saw it on YouTube already. So Clay is basically a no-code tool that helps you to enrich and qualify data. And what that basically means, in super simple terms, is two things. First of all, it will help you to personalize every single cold outreach message that you're sending right now. And secondly, you should be able to automate every single manual and repetitive and boring thing that your sales team currently does inside of Clay. One of the standout benefits of Clay is the ability to enrich data very fast. In other words, you can automatically find emails, phone numbers, LinkedIn profiles of leads within seconds inside of Clay with a click of one button, rather than having to do it individually for leads manually via Apollo, Lucia, or whatever tool you're currently using to do that manually. The best thing about Clay is that it saves you so much time that typically you would have otherwise spent just manually doing all of these actions otherwise. Now, with the rise of Clay also came the rise in the popularity of the GTM engineer role, which is apparently the #1 fastest growing sales role out there. And as some LinkedIn gurus probably told you already, one person that knows Clay really well can outperform and double the output of 5 SDRs that are still relying on sellotaping different tools like Apollo, Sales Navigator, and who have no idea about what the hell web scraping is or how to use OpenAI to generate personalized cold emails at scale. And the best part, Clay is a no-code tool. Now, to get you a bit more hyped up for this, in the background right now, you can see a couple of emails that we've been sending using Clay. You can pause on your screen for a second to read some of those emails. You would notice that every single email has a personalized first liner that sounds so specific and personalized and relevant, that it just makes the recipient of those emails more likely to reply, as you can see by the positive replies that you can see on your screen right now. Assuming that you're equally as hyped up about Clay as I am, you may ask, why should you actually learn Clay? Like, what are the main reasons that you should be learning Clay right now? And there are 3 main reasons. If you already work for a company, let's say maybe it's a software startup, and you want to find a better way to generate leads and set up an in-house go-to-market motion using an in-house sales process without relying on external agencies to generate you leads, then Clay's perfect because it will save you the time and hassle of having to onboard and babysit new hires, whilst giving you the same output as what multiple employees would have done in the sales team. Now, if you're in the second bucket, you may already run a lead generation business that typically relies on the old spray and pray approach of mass blasting hundreds, if not thousands of innocent prospects, hoping to get a reply in return for your unpersonalized cold email that you're sending out to the leads. In this case, Clay will serve as the perfect tool for you to increase your reply rates. Now, more broadly speaking, you want to learn a valuable skill that you can sell to employers right now as a go-to-market engineer. There are a lot of job listings on the market right now where they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for GTM engineers to come into startups and to build those go-to-market functions using Clay alongside some of the other tools that are plugged inside of Clay already, like Instantly and SmartLead, for example. Now, when you get started with using Clay, the first question you typically ask is which Clay plan do you actually need? There are 3 main pricing plans. If you start with a starter plan, it gives you only 2,000 Clay credits, which is enough to just play around and test out the tool, I suppose. But it doesn't connect with cold outreach platforms like Instantly and SmartLead, meaning that you would need to export the leads in a CSV format before importing it into your email and LinkedIn automation tools of choice. Now, with a $349 plan, it gives you access to email and LinkedIn automation. So with one click of a button, you can automatically send leads into campaigns inside of HeyReach, Lemlist, La Growth Machine, SmartLead, or Instantly, and it gives you access to their HTTP API feature, which we don't need to worry about for now, but just keep it in mind for future reference, because that means that you can connect Clay to any other platforms like CRMs using an API, which is a lot simpler than you would think. No one should be using the $800 a month plan unless you're a bigger company with over 5 sales reps in most cases, and you absolutely require a native connection between Clay and your CRM of choice. So in other words, only buy the $800 a month plan if you want to connect HubSpot or Salesforce into Clay. If not, let's not worry about it for now. You can get away with getting started with a $149 plan for your first month of learning, and once you build out all the clay campaigns, you would then need to upgrade to the $349 plan so that automatically all of these campaigns can be running on autopilot without you needing to export the leads in a CSV format manually every single time. Now, if you want to get 2,000 clay credits completely for free as soon as you upgrade to a paid account with Clay, by all means, just go click the top link in the description down below underneath the video. Before we jump into building out 2 clay tables together, I just want to talk about some of the vocabulary that you need to be aware of when using Clay. So first of all, when we navigate inside of your Clay account, on the right side over here, you can click on New and click on Workbook. Whenever we talk about workbooks, think about it like spreadsheets. Every time that you build out a new campaign, a new lead generation strategy, anything of that sort inside of Clay, you will need to create a new workbook. So all it takes is for you to basically just go into your tab over here, click on New, click on Workbook, and voila, you will have a workbook over there, which you can give a quick name to. So in this case, I'll just call it Test, for example. Now that we know what Clay workbooks are, let's talk about Clay tables. Clay tables are the things at the bottom where you can click on Add over here, and you can select a blank table. So over here, all we need to do is just click on Add, blank table again, and these will be different Clay tables. So essentially, we talked about the workbook. The workbook is a combination of a bunch of different Clay tables, and then the tables are basically like different tabs inside of that spreadsheet. Next up, let's talk about the word enrichment. And enrichment is basically any step that you take inside of Clay, and that's just a step that typically automates what you do manually. So for example, if I click on Actions and I type in Find Email, over here we will see, for example, the enrichment of finding email using Surfer or Wizard or Find Email. That's just basically a step that you automate using Clay. Before you would have done this manually, now we do this automatically. And all we need to do is just type in whatever action we want to perform, and it will find us all the different data providers that are able to pull off this action for us. Let's just clarify that every enrichment requires inputs. So for example, let's say we want to find the email of a person. For that, over here in the search bar, we will just type in Find Email, and let's say we use Find Email for this one. As you can see on my screen right now, it will tell you to set up the inputs. And here we always need to feed into every enrichment the inputs. So first of all, it asks for the full name. So here we just need to make sure that we select the full name column. So we can see the full name column over here inside of the Clay table. So we're just going to click over here and select the full name column. Secondly, he asks for the company domain. So in this case, guess what? We're going to click on website and add the company domain, which is the website. After that, we can click on continue to add fields, save and run one row. And straight away, it will basically run this enrichment for us so that we can find the email of this person. In order to pull off enrichments inside of Clay, we need to make sure that we have the right inputs in the first place. So if I don't have the full name and the website of a person, then I need to go and find the website and the full name of a person before I can find their email address. Now, another quick tip is if you want to refer to specific columns inside of Clay, all you need to do is, let's say we're using the ChatGPT enrichment, for example, we need to select the backslash, and that way you can refer to the column. So for example, you can say, find me the LinkedIn profile of, and then backslash will be used to refer to the name of a person. A lot of the time with Clay, you would want to import data into Clay. The way that you can do that is by clicking on Actions, and over here clicking on Sources, and you can import data from CSV by just dragging and dropping the file over here. And that way you can just import an existing spreadsheet. Maybe it's from your CRM, maybe it's from Apollo or Sales Navigator. You can just import it over here, click on continue, and it will be automatically added into your Clay table. Typically, the final output of Clay looks like adding people into sequences, adding them to your CRM or something of that sort. So for this, you just need to type in add lead to campaign, for example, and then you can select what you want to do with the lead. If you have an existing HeyReach account, you can send them automatically into LinkedIn automation. If you want to send someone an automated email straight out of Clay, you would need to use Smart Lead. And once again, those accounts you would need to purchase separately to Clay because Clay itself does not do the LinkedIn automation or email automation side of things. One final bit of advice is that you need to be cautious about saving your Clay credits because, as you can see over here, on the $349 plan, every single Clay credit costs you 3.5 cents. So every single time that you spend one Clay credit, it's the same as you just throwing 3 cents out of the window. So always look for enrichments that cost you the least Clay credits. And in other videos later down the line, I'll show you how you can save Clay credits. But if you go and buy some of these providers of these enrichments directly, these providers will cost you 1/10 of the price. So for example, you can see ChatGPT will cost you 1/10 of a cent as opposed to 3.5 cents being charged by Clay over here. Whenever you do find yourself spending way too many Clay credits, all you can do is head over to settings and head over to credit usage, and you can see what exactly you're spending your Clay credits on. Based on that, you can decide if it's worth just deleting the Clay table or replacing the enrichment so you're not wasting too much credits in the process. And just as we're about to build out our first ever Clay workflow together, I just want to simplify Clay for you. If I were you, just think about Clay as being the middleman, and in order for this tool to work, in order for it to be able to enrich, personalize, or qualify data for you, you need to have some input data, be it company data, people data, job data. It can be any sort of leads that you get from Apollo or Sales Navigator or whatever. Clay can then personalize, enrich, and qualify this data for you, and then the output will be you being able to automatically sequence leads via LinkedIn, email. You maybe add them to your CRM. You can also send data via webhooks and APIs, or you can even create tasks directly from Clay for your sales team as well. Finally, the time has come for us to build out our first Clay workflow together. And in this one, I'll show you how to reach out to new enroll employees at your target companies, with the logic being, if someone is new in a role, the chances are they're more open to hearing about other products, services, and solutions that will help make their job easier. And most of the time, new enroll employees have a budget for software and services that could help with their day-to-day jobs. First of all, we need to go and find companies. In order to do this, before we jump ahead of ourselves, as soon as we log in inside of your Clay account, we're going to click on New and click on Workbook. Over here, we can then click on Find Companies on the left-hand side of the panel, and we can filter for the target companies that we want to be reaching out to. So in this case, you can just tick a bunch of companies over here based on whatever criteria you have. So you can look at industries and just follow along and do the same thing that I'm doing. Alternatively, you can also filter based on other filters like the locations, fellow account on LinkedIn, keywords in the company description, funding raised, annual revenue, company sizes, and so on. In my case, I'm just going to restrict it to anyone with up to 200 employees. And as soon as you're happy with the search results, you can then click on continue and import them to a new Clay table. By now, you should see inside of your Clay table that you have a bunch of different companies over here. For pure simplicity to make your life easier later on, just click on the toggle at the bottom of the tab over here, click on rename and say table 1 company list. Now that we have this list of companies, we may want to find people that are new in row at these companies. The way that we will go about this is clicking on actions in the top right-hand corner and typing in find people. Straight away, you will see over here this enrichment pop-up which says find people. You would see on the right-hand side, it does not cost you any Clay credits. So for instance, you can see Pubrio over here costs 6 Clay credits per row, but in this case, it's completely free. So all we need to do here is go and select the job title, and we can type in the job titles that we're going after. So I'm going to go after people that are in product, design, or something of that sort, or engineering. More than that, to filter for people that are new in the role, I can click on the experience tab over here and make a minimum months in role 1 month and a maximum months in row to be 8 months, so that we know that these people are pretty new in their jobs. As soon as we are happy with this, we can then click on continue and import to new table. And by now, we would have already achieved the following. We should have one Clay table that has all the target companies that we want to go after, and the second table will have all the people that are new in role working at those target companies. So all we need to do now is just click on this tab over here, rename it, and we can say table 2, new enroll employees. In order for us to sync the data between the company table and the people table, you can just click on run column over here and run all the rows. And in front of you, you should have those 2 Clay tables already set up for you. And it's now time to talk about what we're going to actually be sending to those leads. Now, for the purpose of this new enroll workflow, I'm going to be using this email template because I believe it will show you how to use different enrichments in order to personalize the cold email outreach. So in this case, the curly brackets are the dynamic variables, which will be populated and personalized to each individual. So for example, over here, we're going to say, hi, first name. The first name will be filled in. So for instance, it'll be hi, Tim, if it's being sent to me. And afterwards, we'll say, I noticed you joined just, and then over here, we'll input the number of months or how many years ago they've joined the company. And then we'll say from, and then over here, we'll point out what company they worked at before. Because once again, it shows that we've done a bit of research. We maybe browsed on their LinkedIn profile to make sure that we know, what company they worked at before. And over here, we'll just throw in an open question saying, oh, I was curious, have you and this specific colleague already found an office in your city to work from? In this case, we will show that we've done a tiny bit of research by just name dropping a colleague. After that, we can throw in our value proposition. For the purpose of this email, I'm pretending that I'm selling Teamwork, which is an affordable co-working solution which matches employees to flexible co-workings without paying a monthly recurring subscription fee. And then we have a soft call to action, giving them a 2-day free pass to see, if they like the experience. And then in the PS line, we name drop their CEO or founder, just to say, I bet your CEO would love the idea. Now, in order to pull this off, we need to remember where we're at. We found the companies, we found the people. We have not qualified them yet to see if they fit our ideal client profile, but in this case, our ideal client profile is very, very flexible. All we need to do is use this text and head over to this custom GPT, which we just created in order to simplify how you can use Clay for your cold email personalization. So all we're doing is we're taking this personalized email with curly brackets and putting it inside of this custom GPT. And by the way, if you subscribe to my newsletter, I'll reveal which custom GPT you could use to do exactly this. And within 20 seconds of you copying and pasting this personalized email into this custom GPT, it is able to create a prompt for you to be able to then copy and paste inside of an enrichment inside of Clay. Now, we'll come back to this in a second, but just rest assured that this entire cold email can be generated using this one prompt later down the line. In the meantime, let's get back to the workflow. And over here, let's click on Actions and type in Find Work Email, which will enable us obviously to find the email of a person. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to use find email. So I'll just use one provider. I'll give it the full name. I'll give it the company domain of the individual, continue to add fields, save and run 10 rows. Typically, I like to run 10 rows first because I think it's just a good practice to get into so that you can see what the data looks like across 10 rows. We can then rename the column so we don't forget what we've done here and say step 1, find email. After we found the email, one thing that I recommend is just on the filters over here, to click on over here in the filters and just email, and then just switch this toggle to is not empty. And this way you will only see people with valid emails that we just found. As the next step, we need to get Clayagent to find all these curly brackets for us. So what we're going to do in this case is click on Actions, type in Clayagent, and over here, use Clayagent. We need to give it some information first about what we know about the leads that we're reaching out to already. So for example, we can say, we are reaching out to, and then we'll use the backslash to refer to full name, who is a title at this specific company. And then we can give it some more context. Here is their LinkedIn profile URL, and we can give it the URL of the person. And then we can say, based on this, find out the following info about the person for me. Now, what we wanted to find out is those 5 or 6 curly brackets over here. So, first of all, what's their first name only? For example, Alex rather than Alexander. Make sure it sounds conversational. And we can do the same with some of the other stuff over here. So we can do the same for what company have they worked for before, and then we'll just say what company have they worked for before their latest company. How long have they worked for give it to me in months. We can just basically go through a series of these questions, and we can also say, describe what their company currently does in one sentence. Give me the full name of their CEO or founder or owner. And then we can also give me the name of one person from their company that also lives in the same city as this person that we want to reach out to, as first name, last name. And we also want to ask for, give me the city of where full name lives. Based on this, we will have all the research and all the data points using Clayagent in order to then be able to put this email together. So what we're going to do is just ask for all of this data, click on generate, and this will automatically use this mega prompt generator to be able to generate the best prompt possible for you without you needing to basically have a data science degree to pull off this prompt. So let's give it a couple of seconds to load in the background, but just rest assured, knowing that what we've just done is we basically just told Clayagent, hey, here is the person's details. Here is the 6 or 7 things that we want to find out. Just give me all of those 6 or 7 things. And we just need to give it a bit of time now before it comes up with this prompt for us. Within 10 seconds, you can see all of this has been generated as one prompt by Clay itself. And all we're going to do now is we're going to click on save and run 8 rows. This will automatically trigger the process of researching all of these leads. Whilst this is being done, I'm going to rename this column to be step 2, research each lead. So we can see that already some of the data points have been loaded here. So as soon as we click on response, we can see the reasoning of what's been happening already. So we can see that Clayagent visited the profile of all these leads individually, and it found the name of the city of where this person lives, the previous company of where this person works. It found their first name, a quick summary of the company where these people work, as well as how long the person has been in the role for, and the name of their founder or CEO or company owner. On the basis of this information, we're going to now type in ChatGPT, and it should now give us the generate text option. Over here, we can click on the configure part and switch the model from GPT over to Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Now, in my experience, Sonnet is the best one for putting together email copy. So what we're going to do is as follows. We're going to simply copy and paste this entire prompt that has been generated for us using the GPT generator, which you can get as well down below if you click on the second link underneath the video, which will give you access to this GPT once you sign up to our newsletter. So over here, all you need to do is just copy and paste the entire prompt. All we need to do now is just fill in the variables. So for example, what's the first name of the person? First name equals, and then we'll put first name that was given to us by this Clayagent prompt. So over here, if we scroll down, we will have the first name in a conversational manner. The time in role, same over here, we can click on step 2. And we can see tenure, months in current role, and then we can say this is the months in role. If it's over 8 months, say the time in years spent at the company. And then for the past company name, same thing over here as well. We can click on research each lead and select the previous company of where the person worked. The colleague name, a lot of the time it would not be populated, but that's absolutely fine. In this case, we can just click over here again, the name of a colleague that's located in the same city, and then the name of the actual city we of course need to know, so we can ask if they're looking for a co-working there. We can do that, and the same thing about the type of company with a quick summary of what the company does, and finally the CEO name, which we will get from all of this stuff over here as well. And after that, it's pretty magical. All we need to do is click and run those 8 rows. You can see in some cases some of the inputs have been missing, so we're not able to generate a personalized email for all of them, but over here we can just have a look and it will give us an example of the emails that have been generated. So it says, "Hi Roman, I noticed you've been with Inertial Labs for nearly 8 years since leaving Softloft, and I was curious, have you and Will Dillingham found a good office space in Paonian Springs to work from? Asking, as we help tech manufacturers like yours access flexible co-working spaces without any monthly commitments, would you be interested in trying out a 2-day free pass in the next month? P.S. I imagine Jamie would appreciate having the team collaborate face-to-face on your motion control systems." That's simply through just using one Clayagent step and one Sonnet step. And I know you're probably going to object now and say, yes, but we didn't really qualify those leads much. How would you go about doing that? But that's the micro details. That's super, super easy. And there are separate 5-minute tutorials that I've made for you on how you can pull that off as well. Now, all we need to do is just click on the response, add it as a column. We can title this Email 1 Draft. We can click on Create Column after that over here. So let's imagine we were able to generate this personalized email. Let's create another filter view over here and say that Email 1 Draft is not empty. And in this case, we can then click on Actions in the top right corner, type in Smart Lead, add lead to campaign. I'm going to type in over here the name of a campaign that I've got created inside a Smart Lead, for example, my testing campaign. And all I need to do is pass through the custom fields. The custom fields will be Email 1, for example. And then I would just need to use the backslash to refer to Email 1, and then save and run 3 rows. And within just a couple of seconds, we should be able to see that these leads have been added to a campaign, or if they already existed in this campaign, they will just be updated there as well. I'm going to show you how you can create this exact custom GPT, and I'm going to give away the access to this custom GPT completely for free. All you need to do in order to take me up on that is go subscribe to my newsletter, and you will receive that in your first email. And if you have any questions about that, just shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to share some more information on how to go about creating that custom GPT completely from scratch. In the meantime, let's move on to workflow number 2. I believe the one super underrated use case for Clay is staying on top of sales triggers and intent signals. So in workflow number 2, I'll teach you how we can be automatically notified of job changes, new enroll employees, fundraising events, open roles, company news, and any other so-called custom signals that may be symptomatic of there being a potential sales opening for your company. And this is something that you can charge thousands of dollars to set up for other businesses, because most sales teams to this day still have to either resort to using Google Alerts or having to manually refresh different websites in order to get their news. However, instead, using this workflow, what I'm about to show you, you'll be able to stay on top of all of these different triggers and signals. The first step will be to import a hit list of companies into Clay. If you're playing around with it, you can do similar to what I've done here and just get a Google Sheet with some company websites. In my case, you can see Adidas, Puma, Umbro, and New Balance. And all I'm going to do is just download this in a CSV format and head over into Clay. Inside of Clay, all we need to do is head over to the Signals tab over here on the left-hand side of the screen and click on New Signal. For the purpose of this one, I'm just going to show you how to monitor for news and fundraising events, but you will find that all of these are equally as intuitive and they follow the exact same setup process. So all we need to do is click on News and Fundraising, and it will ask us to import a CSV file. So I'm just going to drag and drop this fancy spreadsheet straight into the Google Sheet, and straight away it will just import all company websites which we want to scan news articles from. So after that, we can over here just select the company domains for which we want to find news and fundraising events. So we select company websites and we can click on next. Over here, there will be a quick drop down just asking you what kind of news you want to be subscribed to. Since I'm super fanatical about staying on top of my target companies, I'm going to select every single news signal possible because I really don't want our sales team to miss any of those. So let's just tick all of these as I go along. All right, I gave up on ticking every single one of them because there are about 200 of them. But in the meantime, you can then select how many maximum news results you want to be getting. I'm going to select 15 because I don't want to be reading more than 15 news articles at a time. And then the earliest published date, I'm just going to put to be the 1st of March 2025. After I click on next, it will tell me that it will cost me a couple of Clay credits in order to run this, and it'll ask me at what frequency I want to be running this. Once again, I can do it on a daily basis if I'm super OCD, or alternatively, if I'm like most people, I'll probably run this on a monthly basis, just so that I can automatically then send all of this data into my CRM or into my Slack channel or anything of that sort. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is just click on Configure Optional Enrichments, and this will be what the next step will be after this news occurs. I'm going to click on Send Message to Channel, and this will open up the Slack enrichment. In this case, I'm just going to type in the bot name, so Signals and Trigger Guru, for example. I'm going to select a channel, in which case I'll select my general channel. And for example, it can be something as raw as this, where it's like, hey, here is the news, here is the article to read, and then here is the article title. And yes, this is super raw, but I'll show you how we can spice this up in a second. We can click on Save, and within just a couple of seconds, we can then click on Save at the bottom here. And this will automatically trigger the running of this for the first time, just trying to capture 15 news and fundraising events for these 4 companies so that you can see them right in front of you over here. And you can see straight away a bunch of news articles, the published dates, and automatic Slack messages arriving straight into my Slack channel. So within just a couple of seconds here, you can see that inside of my general channel, I've just spammed it with a bunch of different notifications about all of these news articles about Puma, Adidas, and so on. What we've done so far is we've been able to create an evergreen workflow, an evergreen Clay table, whereby a specific action occurs. In this case, news articles being listed. Straight away, this will be picked up by Clay. It will send you a summary to a Slack channel. If you want to make this even better, what you can do is click on Actions, type in Claygent, and over here, you will see Claygent AI Web Researcher. So for example, you may write something like this: go read this news URL and create a 5 bullet point summary of the news and the impact on the business. Make sure it is relevant for me as a person selling into this specific company, and it's easy for my sales teams to read it. After that, you can click on Generate. It will create a prompt for you that's a bit sharper, a bit longer. So once again, we're not going to spend our time just manually writing a 500-word essay of a prompt. If you want to make this a bit cheaper for yourself, you can always switch the model from Clay Neon down to GPT 4.0 Mini, and then you can add your own external API key. So all we're going to do here is now save and run 10 rows just to see what the output looks like. And straight away, within just a couple of seconds, we should be able to see that it comes up with a quick summary of all of these news articles. Now we can see some of the responses came through, and they're a bit too brief, but once again, we can adjust the prompt if we feel that they're a bit too brief. In this case, it talks about launching a new Stan Smith tennis capsule with Adidas. So about one partnership that they're launching, new collection of shoes that's been launching, and so on. And I'm sure you can read some of these for yourself. Now, more than that, if you don't want to just send yourself a Slack message, you can also add it into a smart lead campaign or something of that sort, whereby you can send a full email to yourself with this report of all of these company news. And every time that some of these news occur, you will be the first one to know, and you can choose when to reach out based on those signals. If you ever want to edit these signals, all you need to do is where it says Event, News and Fundraising here, click on Edit Signal. And over here, you can select which other topics you want to be adding, which other news you want to be notified about. For example, I haven't ticked fraud or shareholder activism. More than that, you can select to receive more news results or less news results. You can select what published dates you want to be focused on. So I can select for anything starting from August of 2025, for instance. and you can also change the frequency of the run depending on your specific needs. So once again, this is a super cool workflow. In my opinion, it's an absolute game changer because most of the time, if you think about it, typically you would need to be doing research about the company manually. However, in this case, you can largely automate it using just a bit of Clayagent and the knowledge that if you click on signals over here and you click on new signal, you can select from all of these different signals and you can build out some custom signals as well. Now, I just did 2 live build outs with a purpose of showing you how I actually go about building these Clay workflows from start to finish. But because I wanted to spend a bit more time going through this in depth and actually walk you through everything, I was only able to show you 2 use cases. If you want to get the best results using Clay, you need to be like a human Swiss army knife and know multiple ways to use Clay. So if you click right here to check out the next video, you can learn 8 insanely good Clay use cases that you can use to finally automate your outbound sales from some extremely unique angles. And remember, these use cases could be your edge over all of your competition. So I'll see you in the next video.